Welcome to Kickstarter Conniption. I'm Kevin Delp.
And I'm Melissa Delp.
And we're happy to be part of the Tantrum House family. Today, we are talking about Rise to Nobility. It's a dice worker placement game for 2 to 5 players, and it's coming to Kickstarter in April.
In Rise to Nobility, it's set in the same fantasy world as Final Frontier Games' other game, Cavern Tavern. In the game, you and the other players are small landowners in the newly formed city of Caveborn. You have 10 rounds to improve your land, gather resources, house settlers, and rise to nobility. At the end of the game, the player with the most victory points wins.
Here's a look at most of the prototype components. There's the main game board and scoreboard, some player boards, meeples, houses, dice for each player, character cards and settler cards, 6 types of goods, gold tokens, modifier tokens, ship tiles, stone council tiles, and some building tiles.
The main board has a ton of locations with slots to place your dice, and each location has certain dice requirements. For example, all of the guilds, where you go to get goods, have 3 slots. One for a die value of 1 or 2, another for a die showing 3 or 4, and the final slot for a die valued 5 or 6. In the guild hall, where you buy buildings, it has 6 slots, one for each die value. The specific building and its cost is determined by which slot it's in. The Cavern Tavern, where you pick up settlers, uses a different dice placement requirement. It has to be filled from left to right, and any die value can be placed in the first slot. The next die has to be equal to or greater than the die before it. The construction yard is similar to Cavern Tavern, but opposite. The dice have to be equal to or less than the die in the previous slot. At the beginning of each round, players roll all 5 of their dice, and then they take turns placing 1 die on a slot and taking the associated action.
But players might not be able to place all their dice even if there are open slots on the board. The unique thing in Rise to Nobility is the reputation track. Your reputation level determines the total value of dice you can play on a turn. You can play dice up to, but not over your reputation. At the beginning of the game, everyone starts with 9 reputation. So with this roll, I could end up playing my 6 and 3 for 9, my 6 and 2 for 8, my 4, 3, and 2 for 9, or my 3, 3, and 2 for 8.
There are definitely a lot of decisions to make in this game and different strategies for earning points, which is something I love. One of the main ways to get points is to house settlers. Settlers' cards will show the types of goods they want in their home and the range of points they're willing to give you. The number of goods you spend will determine how many points you receive. When you settle them, you'll also get workers and potentially increase your nobility as well.
Having workers is really important. You can place them in the guilds as apprentices, where they'll earn your money and extra free goods. Eventually, they can become guild masters in a workshop and earn you points and other benefits.
Another way to get points is to visit the Stone Council and satisfy the demands on a stone tile. Usually you'll do this in the later rounds because the counselors will only meet with you if you've reached certain levels on the nobility track. Another requirement is that you can only make deals with counselors of the same races as the settlers you've already housed on your land.
There's a bit of an engine building aspect to the game. You need money to buy goods and buildings and houses, and you need goods for housing settlers and completing stone council tiles, so you need to find a way to make some money.
One of the interesting ways of making money is by having apprentices in the guilds. At the end of each round, each apprentice will earn a certain amount of money. Now that amount is determined by how many total apprentices are in that guild, counting all the players' apprentices. So for the more apprentices, each apprentice will earn less money. So there really is some decision making and strategy to where you place your apprentices.
The art in this game is top notch. The scenery is really beautiful and the characters and settlers are playful. A minor criticism would be that some of the spots on the board are a little small, and at least in the prototype, a few of the icons are difficult to decipher.
I really enjoy Rise to Nobility. It doesn't have some of those take that elements that were in Cavern Tavern. The main ways to interact with or even hurt other players in this game is to maybe block a spot that someone wants, or to place one of your apprentices in the guild where someone is. So it's more of an indirect interaction, and that's actually what I prefer.
I love worker placement dice placement games, and I enjoy Rise to Nobility even more than Cavern Tavern. This game sort of feels like a cross between Lords of Waterdeep and Kingsburg, and both of those games are in my top 10 games of all time. So be sure to check out Rise to Nobility on Kickstarter, and thank you for watching.